Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm Jeff Dover. With me is John Barban. Let's talk football.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the AFC North. 3 good teams and 1 team that's just terrible. But we're going to be giving flowers to the 3 teams that might actually make the playoffs, all 3 of them. Now it's a big if this Bengals team saved itself with this game. Don't give me that kind of look.
I'm giving you that look.
We need Burrow in the playoffs.
I know you do. I know you do.
I've been on this train. We need Burrow in the playoffs. Now,
more than anyone. Yeah. Now, but let me put it this way. This is what I had written down.
Yep.
I had the Cincinnati Bengals, possibly the most relevant 2-4 team in the NFL.
I'll take it.
Right?
Yes, I'll take it.
Okay, there you go.
So now, wasn't a dominating win. I get it. It was the Giants, but I actually think the Giants are a decent team now. Their defense is good. Jones, I get it, Jones, but they're statistically is not terrible. I know the memory of some awful picks makes people think Jones is just awful, but that's a pretty good defense. Like, you actually have to show up to beat the Giants. It's
a road win at a night game is not nothing. Yeah. It's so that's absolutely it was a bit of an ugly game, but they won. That's the important thing. That's what separates good teams from bad.
Yeah.
And they did it. So
and to the Bengals fans, like a sense of hope, the defense dominated, which the defense has been getting kind of its ass kicked around the last couple of games. Finally, the defense took the game over, and Burrow showed up with the wheels for a little bit there. He's, I know he's mobile, but he just doesn't do it a lot. But I mean, he took off for a long run, so that was a big deal too.
Everyone was surprised at that. That was really good movement coming out of him.
Right. So good for the Bengals. Essentially, you could say they've saved their season and hung in for another week. Another loss this early, I think, could basically ruin them.
No, huge difference between 2-4 and 1-5.
Yeah.
And just like another team in that division, Baltimore started out 0-2, and then they're 4-0 now since then. So, you can bounce back from stuff. So 2-4 you can bounce back from, but it's that was a big win, and they've got some more winnable games. So talk about Cincinnati coming up in their schedule, because they've got the Browns coming up. They've got also the Raiders and Chargers. So they can, they're not in a terrible position.
Yeah,
so
they should be favored in all of those games.
Yes,
for no other reason than they have Burrow. You take the better quarterback. Mm-hmm. And speaking of the better quarterbacks, the Ravens gets the shirt today. I would think that game against the Commanders, I think we'd have to say, is the best win of the week of that weekend, given the various matchups. There was no other game where I would say a team the winning team beat a team that was that strong on the other side, or at least to me, that's the best win. Now, in that game,
arguably one of the best games of the weekend.
For sure,
just in terms of win, but good quality game. So
yeah. Now the final score, I think, showed that it was closer than it maybe really was. If you to me, during that game, the Ravens were always a step ahead, and they were never really going to get caught. But Jaden Daniels, no interceptions, 2 touchdowns. He played a clean game, and that's, I think, the only reason it wasn't way worse. He just didn't make any mistakes. He just took what was there. That's how you hang in with a team that's just better than you. Mm-hmm. And they, it was a 7-point game. I actually think it was more of like a 2-score feeling type of win, because the Ravens just had their way with them. They couldn't.
Yeah, Baltimore had a 2-score lead both in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter at separate times. So it did feel more than you're right about that.
Whenever the Commanders seemed to rally and get something going, the Ravens just took the momentum right back. Mm-hmm. And, Jackson just keeps looking better. That team's just rounding into a complete looking team from the kind of the bumpy start they had. They, that running game's starting to finally look, this is what they thought they were doing when they brought Henry in. I know at the first 2 games of the season, some media types were, this isn't the right fit. Henry's not the right back. What are you talking about? Give it a minute to breathe. They don't play in the preseason together. That those first 2 games of the season, they're just figuring out how to use him with Jackson.
Well, and to your point too, is that so after 6 games, everyone's played 6 games almost, except for the couple of people that are in the bye. And depending which metric you look at, the Ravens have the best or the second best offense in all of the NFL in terms of points scored. So it's there. It might have taken a minute to come together, but like that's really good.
Mhm.
So
They've sorted it out. They look, again, it sucks because they look like the second best team in the league, but when they play the Chiefs, they lose.
mhm.
And that they gotta get over that hump. This is one of our only chances in the AFC for a true challenger. I know people think the Bills should be there. I always thought the Bengals should be there. That's why I'm hoping for the Bengals to make it to the playoffs, because that's one team we know can put up a fight against the Chiefs.
Mhm.
So I don't know. The Ravens are exerting themselves here, or asserting themselves as the other best team in the AFC right after the
Mhm.
Chiefs.
And I'll
But
give some love to the Steelers too. Like
oh yeah, yep.
they're in a position, like a lot of teams wouldn't want to play the Steelers. Their defense is ranked near the top of the entire NFL. They're doing it completely different than, like we were just talking about Baltimore scoring 177 points, but they've also given up 149. Steelers have only given up 86, which is one of the best in the league, depending if you've had a bye yet or not. So that's outstanding. And the defense travels, right? So no matter, even if your offense could be hit or miss, but that's a pretty solid defense. So that's gonna keep you in a lot of games.
Yeah, and I don't know, with Tomlin, they're just always going to have a winning record and always be right on the verge, if not in the playoffs. And
Mm,
Fields, I get it, he's not a Lamar Jackson type of numbers, but he was 14, 24, 145 yards, but no interceptions and 2 rushing TDs. So
yeah,
no throwing touchdowns, but that's fine. It's the mistakes that
yeah,
ruin it. And when you have a defense this good, you can win with that kind of stat line, especially because he can run it. And
yeah.
and then Najee Harris, 106 yards, touchdown. So you had 3 rushing TDs, but I don't know, 3 or 4 field goals. Like, good for the Steelers for finally scoring some points. They got 32
Hmm.
points. Finally, the offense, and again, statistically on page, at least Fields numbers, kind of you look like, oh, it's whatever. That doesn't look great. But that a 30-point game with that defense, they're going to win almost every game they're in. If that
Absolutely. Or
this
that'd
exact
be like a
performance,
95% win chance if you
this
score
is the
30
Steelers
points
model
with that
right here.
defense. Yeah, and Pittsburgh is historically been a team where you can win like that. Like, you can win without a super dynamic offense. Like, you hold the ball, don't give the other team a lot of possessions, don't have turnovers. That makes a big difference. And if Fields can play that type of game, then they're going to be a real trouble. And you're right; it's a good point about the mobile part. Like, if you don't have a dynamic offense, and you're not really forcing the ball down the field a lot, just having a quarterback that can run and get you the odd first down is really going to keep drives going.
Yeah, this again, like you said, it's a completely different way to win compared to how the Ravens are winning, because the
Yes.
Ravens can just explode for points. I don't think the Steeler team's really ever going to explode for
No,
points.
no. Pittsburgh's built in a way where, like, they got to have the lead and hold it,
And
because
just
it's going to be tough to come back from that. So
and you got to they got to force you to play a Pittsburgh game. Like, this is
yeah,
the
exactly.
quintessential definition of a team. It's play good defense, run the ball. And as long
Yes.
as Fields doesn't make mistakes, they're going to win 10, 11 games just on that model alone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's a really good point, because especially when you look at the scoring, they got a field goal early, they gave up a touchdown, and then it was just dominant after that: field goal, touchdown, and then the Raiders only scored again in the fourth quarter, when it didn't mean, when they had a 29-7 lead. So
Right, right.
that's right out of the Pittsburgh playbook in sort of how to do it. And they had under 300 yards of offense, but when your defense is that good, that's all you need.
And I get it. It's the Raiders. Like, you expect to
Hey, it
win,
was
but
it was it was at the Raiders too, so it's not it's
it was a dominant win. It's
yeah,
how they should look against a team like the Raiders. They should beat them, and they should beat them like this.
yeah,
If and that was good. It was a good win.
it was.
You got anything else?
No, that's it for me for the AFC North.
All right. So AFC North, good for you. I don't even want to talk about the Browns. They don't deserve to be talked about with Deshaun Watson. He's just awful, and
I don't understand
okay. I guess we're going to
couple,
talk. Okay, we're going to talk about the Browns. All right, let's do
just
it.
a couple things on the shows this week. We're talking about how should they bench Watson, or can they bench him because of the contract? And I get it. It's a guaranteed money. They paid a lot for that. And he's been good in the past, but it is so clear that he's struggling. And to think that benching him
Struggling is generous. Struggling
yeah,
is he is awful.
he's awful. He's awful.
Absolutely awful. This is the worst contract in the history of pro sports, I think. He has been a disaster ever since he signed that. Not only does he barely play, when he does play, he's the worst quarterback in the league.
I'm surprised how much he looks like a rookie, like a bad rookie, like where the game's moving so fast for him. When he gets sacked, he's surprised. Like it's sort of this guy comes out of nowhere. Like he's got no pocket awareness, like
It used
things
to be
like
one of
that.
his best attributes.
I
He could get
know.
out of trouble all the time.
Exactly. And so like that's the real surprising part. Like where it's not like Aaron Rodgers where he's getting older and he can't do some of the stuff that he used to before, and he looks worse when he gets hit now than before. But Watson is, it's like a shell of himself, which
he's
is
a mess.
Yeah.
He's a mess. And it's Stefanski's, man, he's such a good offensive coach. He's just stuck. And I know he had to say, oh, he's our best chance at winning. No, he's not. You probably just have to say that. This GM has, I think, single-handedly set the league back 10 years on contracts, because he handed this guy this ridiculous contract,
guaranteed,
gave up the farm, all of it guaranteed. The guy turns out to be a complete and utter disaster. And now
off the field.
Now all the player agents are bending every other GM over, and they're saying, well, that guy got 230. Look at how he plays. Our guy's better than that. Our guy deserves more. So now you get guys like Trevor Lawrence getting contracts he doesn't deserve. You get Kirk Cousins getting $180 million at 35 years old, coming off a busted Achilles. Like this has single-handedly inflated all of the contracts, and teams are going to get screwed. Like $212 million to Tua, who's probably never going to look the same. Like all of these contracts after the Watson contract are all artificially elevated because of that one contract. Like Barry, that general manager, first of all, how does he still have his job? He's completely destroyed this team, and he's probably going to wreck 5 or 6 other teams because those GMs are stuck negotiating against agents, pointing at this disastrous contract as, oh, the market was set right there. Like this is going to I think this is going to reverberate for a while, because that one contract's so horrific, and agents just jumped all over it, and they're like, oh, he gets paid that, my guy gets paid more. Yeah. And look at Dak. Dak's a joke, and he's getting paid. But by the numbers,
most ever.
If Watson's the standard, because of that idiot Barry signing that contract, the Prescott's agents are like, well, we're better than him. Everyone's better than him. Like every quarterback's better than Watson.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was such a disastrous contract. I mean, I think we're going to have to do a whole show about how awful that was. But anyways, that's way too much for the Browns. You know what? The rest of the Browns team are good. That's a good team. Yes. Watson's so awful. He can bring down what is one of the best defenses in the league, and pretty good skill talent. And I get it. They're missing Chubb, but yeah, he single-handedly, him and the GM have destroyed that team. So too bad for the Browns fans. Your team is better than that, but as long as Watson's there, you have no chance. And you know this. The Browns fans know this. They're just stuck. And your GM did this to you.
Yeah, anyways. The Browns, they've got bad offense, bad defense, and which is a stark contrast to the other teams in the AFC North. Like even Cincinnati, that's 2-4, the most relevant 2-4 team in the NFL. That they still have a positive point differential. You know, like that they're you could tell there's still a good team in there.
And you have a QB with a winning record against Mahomes, who's been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What does the Browns have?
Yeah, and so
and
even though
they're 26, 27 assault charges against him, like how does anyone actually cheer for that guy? Like, how does any woman in Cleveland, any woman in the country, how do you? Yeah. No one can cheer for that team.
No, I don't get it.
Sorry, for him, you can cheer for the Browns, not that guy.
No, Cleveland's just terrible. And the last thing I was just going to say about Cincinnati, they're 2-4, but they've only got one loss in the division, so they've got a lot of games ahead of them. You know, like they're still going to play the Ravens again. They're still going to play the Steelers twice. So, you know, that's a lot can happen for Cincinnati there. Yeah. The good news for Cincinnati is they also play Cleveland twice. So that looks like 2 more starting with next week. So that looks like could be a couple more wins right there.
Yep. All right. Well, AFC North, good for all the teams except Cleveland.